At the time of recording this episode, yesterday, on the 8th of April 2026, United States of America and Iran have called for a ceasefire. When people hear the word ceasefire, they think, oh, the fighting just stops, like both sides agree, shake hands and that's it. But that's not how it works. A ceasefire isn't peace, it's more like a pause button in the middle of chaos. And sometimes that pause is real, and sometimes it's just a chance to reload. So what actually is a ceasefire? What are the rules that exist in war, if any? And how do you even get two sides who are trying to kill each other to stop? Kia ora, no mai ki te haerenga. Welcome back to the Fleeing Ignorance podcast. Today we're breaking down ceasefires, how they work, the history behind them, and why they don't always mean peace. So what is a ceasefire? At its simplest, a ceasefire is an agreement to stop fighting, and that's it. But there are levels to it. You've got temporary ceasefires, permanent ceasefires, local ones in just one area, or full scale across the entire war. And importantly, a ceasefire doesn't mean the end of the war, it just means both sides have agreed for now to stop shooting. As a military historian, John Keegan, once said, war is not a continuous act, but a series of violent engagements. And ceasefires are gaps between those engagements. They pause, not ending. So, rules of a ceasefire. So are there actually rules in war? Surprisingly, yeah. A lot of them come from the agreements like the Geneva Convention, among a whole lot of others. These aren't about stopping war, they're about limiting how bad it gets. During a ceasefire, rules usually include things like stop offensive action, obviously, no advancing positions, allowing aid, food, medical, and help for civilians on the ground, and sometimes a prisoner exchange. But here's a catch. These rules only work if both sides follow them. And increasingly, in this modern environment, the rules-based world order is being ignored. And in war, trust is rare. Which is why a ceasefire, they break all the time. There's some history, the Christmas Truce from World War I. One of the most famous ceasefires happening during World War I, Christmas 1914, British and German soldiers sitting in their trenches stopped fighting. Not because of orders, but because they chose to. They sang songs, exchanged gifts. Some accounts even said they played football. For a moment, they paused war. And I just quickly want to plug a good little short film called Te Haka, not mine, obviously, that if you want to watch the anxiety that must have been felt and how foreign and abstract the feeling must be from going to one day fight somebody to the next day playing football or rugby or whatever with them. So the Haka is a New Zealand short film directed by Isaac Lee, based on the 1914 Christmas Truce, featuring Māori soldiers engaging with Germans on no man's land. They shared tins of biscuits and performed a haka and played sports together. Just think it's a good watch. Anyway, but here's the reality. It didn't last. Commanders shut it down because from a military point of view, peace was dangerous. Fast forward to modern conflict. Ceasefires usually are negotiated. Governments, militaries, sometimes outside groups like the United Nations step in to help broker agreements. But even then, ceasefires can be fragile. One side accuses the other of breaking it, retaliation happens, and suddenly the pause is over. So why don't they hold? A few reasons: lack of trust. Both sides think the other might take advantage. Strategic advantage. A ceasefire can be used to regain, regroup, and rearm. It's believed that a big reason why the Ukrainian and Russian ceasefire isn't going ahead is because it will allow, or hasn't made any further movement, is because it will allow Ukraine to dig in trenches, rearm, and be ready. And Russia knows if they allow that, they're not making much more progress than the slow progress they're already making. Number 3 would be miscommunication. So all it takes is one small incident and everything escalates again, right? One rogue soldier or one rogue AFV or armoured fighting vehicle or plane takes off, shoots somebody, right? Do you really think as a military or as a government you'll trust that that was just a rogue person and that wasn't actually the beginnings of another wave of strikes? As strategist Carl von Clausewitz said, war is the continuation of politics by other means. Which means even when the shooting stops, the conflict doesn't. How do you actually pause war? This is the hardest part, because a ceasefire isn't just about weapons, it's about people. Leaders having to agree, soldiers having to follow, and both sides have to believe, even slightly, that stopping is better than continuing. Sometimes that comes from exhaustion, pressure from other countries, humanitarian crises, but it's never simple. You're trying to pause something that's built on conflict. So let's have a look at an example of a ceasefire. A perfect candidate would be the US and Iran ceasefire that's happening currently. Trump said he's agreed to suspend the bombing and attack of Iran for the period of 2 weeks if Tehran agrees to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. The purpose of this ceasefire is so that they are able to come together, being mediated by Pakistan, and come up with a plan for peace. Iran has agreed to allow vessels through the Strait of Hormuz for 2 weeks, with their passage coordinated by the Iranian military. The country has also issued a 10-point peace plan. The 10-point peace plan is as follows. 1. The complete cessation of war on Iraq, Lebanon, and Yemen. The complete and permanent cessation of the war on Iran with no time limit. Ending all conflicts in the region in their entirety, reopening the Strait of Hormuz, establishing a protocol and conditions to ensure freedom and security of navigation in the Strait of Hormuz. Full payment of compensation for reconstruction costs in Iran. Full commitment to lifting sanctions on Iran. Release of Iranian funds and frozen assets held by the United States. Iran fully commits to not seeking possession of any nuclear weapons. Immediate ceasefire takes effect on all fronts immediately upon approval of the above conditions. So they've sent out this 10-point peace plan. I believe America's sent out a 15 one, and then they're going to come together to moderate it. So for understanding of that, the point of this is to come to peace. Having a temporary ceasefire, they both come together, use diplomacy, and talk about it. That's the wider view of this peace plan. So yeah, ceasefire isn't peace, it's just a pause. Sometimes it saves lives, sometimes it delays what's coming next. But either way, it shows important things. Even in war, there are moments where people choose to stop. And understanding that helps you understand war a bit better. It's not just what it is, but it's how it works. If we're going to flee ignorance, this is part of it. I'll see you in the next one.